Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call to order this afternoon's Parks, Trails, and Recreation Committee meeting. And I'd like to acknowledge with respect that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen speaking people, and we are honored to have the opportunity to build strong working relationships with the people of the Songhees and the Wet'suwet'en nations whose historical relationship with the land continues to this day. I'd also like to welcome everyone back, as it's been a while since our last meeting. It gets right to approval of the agenda. That the agenda of the Parks, Trails, and Recreation Committee meeting of April 2nd be adopted as presented. Sorry, I'd like to make that motion, and if I could get a mover, please. Oh, sorry, Carol. Carol's the mover. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. And then I'd like to make a motion that the minutes of the Parks, Trail, and Recreation Committee meeting held October 3rd, 2023 be adopted as presented. We have a mover. Katrin. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. So that, and then public participation. I don't think, is anybody here that would like to speak? Nope. Okay. We'll go on to new business. Gord, you're up.
Good afternoon. Happy that we're all back here for a Parks Committee meeting. I'm here today to speak to a report asking the Parks, Trails, and Recreation Committee consider recommending to council funding to upgrade the accessibility play structures of Quarry Park. Just a little bit of background, and that is in collaboration with Gablecraft and going over the Quarry Park playground plans, staff noticed that there was opportunity to increase the accessible play features there. And we came up with a pretty good plan, but unfortunately it really did take a hit to the budget that Gablecraft has for that playground. So I'm here seeking recommendations for the city to add budget to that playground. There are three options in front of you today. Option one is to consider using that we add funded budget to the Quarry Park playground accessibility improvements through the Growing Communities Grant. As option one, this is a funding source that staff recommends, as it is consistent with some funding source for other budgeted parks infrastructure improvements in the 2024-2028 financial plan. Option two would be to add the funding through the CAC's community amenities reserves. And if that is the option, staff can return with a financial plan amendment. And option three is to keep the plan as it is right now with, it does have its accessible play features. It's just not what staff feels that we have the opportunity for there and what's needed. And I'm here for any questions.
Okay, I'll open it up if anybody has any questions. What are the extra features?
It's and through the chair, thank you. It is $330,000. This will add one large structure, very similar to the non-accessible structure that's going in the sandcastle structure, which would allow accessible to the same type of raised platform area. as well as adding the rubber matting for an increased play surface accessibility as well.
So is that the blue on here?
That's the blue on that
Ah.
map there, yeah.
I would just like to speak in favor of the recommendation. Unfortunately, it is unfortunate that Gablecraft could not fund the entire amount, but I understand they'll be funding part of the recommendations for some of the accessible.
Yes, they're still adding, there are, in this section here, you see there is a bird's nest swing or a accessible swing. There is some sensory play and communication walls that they're able to keep in as well. And I believe that the sandbox play area, which is to your, looking at it straight on, is to your left. That has an accessible digger in it as well. Yeah. And as well, if it is recommended that we go with the option and we do the matting, Gablecraft will pay for whatever the cost that they would be paying for the 5R for that area. They would include that with the matting as well.
I think the recycled tire matting sounds like a very, it sounds like a good idea. And especially for accessibility of, say, wheelchairs, I would imagine would be able to roll through that much better. And just for falls, that kind of thing. Be plus, as mentioned in the recommendations and the report, I think it sends a good message for recycling and using materials rather than producing new materials. We're recycling materials. That all sounds like a really good plan, and nice to know that Gablecraft will reduce the cost by taking off what the wood chip would have cost. Is that correct?
What the area would be of the wood fiber, yeah.
Wood fiber.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I'd also like to speak to one other thing, but it's not exactly in the recommendation. But I think part of well-being and accessibility is to just make mention that in the playground area, it would be, I think, wise to have shade trees planted. Quite often you'll see playgrounds and it's, wide open. But with climate change and with our warm summers ahead of us, I think for the elderly that are caregivers of their young grandchildren or whatever in the playground, and for the children themselves, I think if we can just be cognizant of where we plant our trees and that they be shade trees and that they protect our playgrounds for our children and for those visiting. But that is an aside. I know it's not mentioned in their report.
Well, I can speak to you don't see the larger landscape plan that this is in, but there are shade trees around the playground.
Sorry, Gord. So I just wanted to ask, originally, I guess in the terms of reference, Gablecraft was to provide 8 pieces of equipment, and they've almost maybe doubled that now already. So yeah, so I think that's, yeah, totally fair. Yeah, I think it's a great idea to go ahead with it for sure. Did anybody else want to speak? Did you? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a huge believer in doing things right off the bat rather than having to retro upgrade after the fact. And we're certainly in an era of diversity and inclusion. So I think the plan is solid and timely. So it has my support completely. Could you, though, please explain this Growing Communities Grant Reserve? I mean, what else could that money be used for, I guess, is my question.
That's a great question. I wish that I could explain it a bit more. Maybe there's someone that could help me out with that.
Sorry, I'll answer to the degree that I can. We don't have a member of the finance team in the room. My name is Robert Earl. I'm Chief Administrative Officer for the city. Broadly speaking, this funding can be used for infrastructure that supports population growth in the community. It can be of a primary level like roads or water or sewer, or many communities like Colwood are focusing it on amenities such as recreation. But infrastructure-based
Thank you.
projects.
Okay.
And Gord, I just wanted to preface that with the fact that there's a timeline in using that too. Like we should probably use that before the other fund because of the
Yeah,
time.
and as it says in the report, it's already being allocated to park funding as well. So I don't think that we would have to do an amendment to the financial plan using this.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions, or are we good to go with the motion? And I apologize, I don't have my laptop with me today, so I think I was gonna put the motion for the first. Oh, thank you. For the first option was that the city adds 330,000 to the park's capital budget for the Quarry Park Playground accessibility improvements to be funded by the Growing Communities Grant, and staff return with the financial plan amendment. This funding source is staff's recommendation, as it is consistent with the funding source for other budgeted parks infrastructure improvements in the 2024-2028 financial plan. And so I'm just making a motion if somebody wants to move that. Chris? Okay, any, all in favor? Any discussion? Yeah, okay. Good, we're good. I guess we're gonna adjourn the meeting. That was a quick meeting. Can I get a motion for adjournment, please? Thank you. Catherine?